Hello everyone, and welcome back to the inn. More cards have been announced, and it's time for us to talk about them. So let's pick up where we left off. Bonemare. 7 cost, 5/5, Battle Cry. Give a friendly minion +4/+4 and Taunt. This card is gonna be nutty in Arena, for sure. Because, like, if you've got something on the board, here, Blessing of Kings and Taunt. Have fun. In Constructed, though, if we can get to turn 7 and make it to where this can be really useful in something like Shaman or Paladin. Woo. Just woo. I like it. Bulb?
I think you're correct that it's going to be strong in Arena. I don't agree it's going to be strong Constructed. Number one, 7 cost is way too expensive for what it's offering. You guys like, it's 4/4 and taunt. It's a 5/5 that gives 4/4 and taunt. That sounds good on the surface, but when you get into the 7 slot, this is when you're starting to pretty much get to your end-game cards. You're getting to your big, strong minions. You know, your final pushers. You know, these are normally when you're pulling out the big legendaries. You're pulling out all the stops by this point. Are you really going to play Bonemare? I mean, it gives something 4/4 and taunt, but you can probably give similar effects for way less. And then again, there's a thing of battle cry. Traditionally in Hearthstone, battle cries that give stat boosts to other minions have never went over well in the meta. The biggest battle cry that actually worked is great, Eddie, my brain just went dead.
No.
The only battle cry that gives stat boosts that actually work is Defender of Argus, and that's because of it's positional, but it's also because it's 4 mana compared to 7. It gives +1/+1 taunt, and it gives it to 2. It can give it up to 2 minions. You just plop it down. So that's +2/+2 worth of stats plus taunt, and it's giving it to guaranteed minions, and it's really good at board control. And that's really good for the 4 slot, because that's kind of where you need it at that point in the game. By turn 7, do you really need Bonemare? And I'm going to make another comparison to another card. What about Anubis-Sath Sentinel? That never saw play, and it gave +4. I believe it. Yeah, it gave +4/+4 as a death rattle. So it cost less. It had a similar stat line. And I know it's a death rattle compared to a battle cry, but it also gave +4/+4 worth of stats to a minion, and it saw 0 play.
The counter argument I can throw there, as far as the Sentinel goes, is that because it was a death rattle, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, I'll just knock off the board and then kill it.
Yeah, that's
just wipe out the board entirely.
That's right. Traditionally, and I've looked at this and had to accept that when I've revamped Necromancer a few times, is just the fact that static buff death rattles just don't work. There's just some death rattles that don't work in certain types of death rattle decks, and Anubis-Sath Sentinel can't do it if you can't keep the board. Bonemare is I was using Anubis-Sath Sentinel as a comparison. I know that death rattle compared to battle cry are a completely different matter.
Thank you for at least recognizing it and at least pointing it out in your statement.
Yes.
Because I was getting ready to point it out.
But my point is, this is an incredible effect, battle cry, 4/7 cost and the 5/5. Yes, but my point is that by the time you're getting to this part in the game, you're having minions that are specialized for very specific jobs. These are when you're bringing out your big guns. And Bonemare kind of clogs up your curve. Where instead of a Bonemare, you could just, name any class, and I can probably give you a better minion to play at an upper echelon slot.
Rogue.
Let's see, Rogue right now.
Mm-hmm.
Have to think about what's out there. I think it depends on what rogue what kind of rogue you're playing. Most rogues though are not interested in slotting in big cost minions anyway because they want to combo. They want to combo. They want to just play a whole bunch of effects all one turn, and that 7 cost card is very touchy for that. I guess Rogue could do it. I'm trying to think of what kind of minions they have. I mean, I could name you some stuff in Wild, but we're going to just consider Standard right now.
Right. And if anything I can say is, sorry, the answer we were looking for is not a ghost.
Well, there you go. Like I said, Rogue is not looking to play a lot of big cost stuff.
Currently. Now, I mean, we could see a shift into Tempo Rogue, depending on how things kind of shape out and go, but it's just more or less, gotta see more.
Yeah.
Still, it's just one of those things, you gotta see more with Rogue to see where it could potentially fall out and lead. I mean, like I said, just anything, I find just Bonemare to be interesting.
Yeah. It's an interesting effect, but I also look at it and say, as interesting as this is, we've seen minions like you before at lower costs and stats, and they've never worked. What makes us think they'll work at a higher cost and stat line, when by that point you're wanting to play out your big guns? A lot of people for Paladin have been bringing up Spike Ridge Steed, but I really don't see the comparison there. I mean, maybe it will see play, but if stuff like Stormwind Champion doesn't see play, why do we think Bonemare is going to see play? And I'm going to be honest, I love Stormwind Champion, but it doesn't see play.
Yeah, I know why you don't see Stormwind Champion is because it's just a static 7 cost 6/6 give +1/+1 everything. This goes Blessing of Kings and Taunt. Go. So we're gonna. I say this. We'll definitely see where things go.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to really make an impact on the meta. I think people might experiment with it, think it's good, but then I think it's going to fade away.
Yeah, Arena's where it's going to have its real.
Oh yeah. We'll see it all over the place in Arena. It's going to find its home there. I can't see it really making much of an impact, except maybe in specialized decks.
Calling for that Blizzard Wiffle Bat nerf in Arena already. Wee woo, wee woo.
So next up, we have Animated Berserker, which is a 1-cost, 1/3 warrior minion that says after you play a minion, deal 1 damage to it. I am so glad that that Grim Patron is in Wild. I mean, I know I'm going to see this in Wild, but I'm so glad. Other than that, maybe for picking... Number one, aggro decks aren't going to run this, because it's just going to start killing your deck off. Maybe an Enraged type warrior, or a warrior that wants to get in that damage on itself, but traditionally warrior has used the self-flagellation style of play not to really damage itself, but to damage enemy minions so that it could just to make it easier to pick off. Make them easier to pick off. There are cards that this could synergize with, but in general, I doubt we're really going to see it. In Standard. We'll see it in Wild, but I don't think we'll really see it in Standard.
See, I'm looking at this and I'm just going, alright, what could I potentially do with it? And it's just like, I'll play you potentially turn 4 to go alongside Frothing Blizzard. Just because. But, I mean, then it'd make Frothing Berserker a 3/3, and it's like, nah, throw that out the window. I know, I'll play Gurbashi Berserker with it. Make it a 5/6 on summon. Which, that's a little scary, especially if you still got your weapon equipped. that new warrior weapon that's oh so lovely. And it's just like, what else could I do with it? That enraged deck idea? Yeah, sure. I mean, I could get behind something that's new and kind of fun like that. Depending on what Garrosh's new Death Knight power is, or at least Death Knight ability, this could get interesting. So, like, right now I'm just going to look at it and I'm just going to go, alright, I know you're not going to go any, like, like the Pirate Warrior that gets ran. Ain't no way, ain't no how. Just, no. But if there's a new archetype that could evolve and emerge from this, I think it really could be Enrage. Because it's just like, play this, oh, looky here, I'm going to go ahead and just drop my Tauren. The 4-cost 2/6 Enrage plus 3 attack. Taunt.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You drop that, and it's just like, oh, now it's a 5/5 on 4. And so it's just like, wail. So, I could get behind something along like this to get, you know, something new to the table. So, if anything, are we good on this one? Alright. Next up on the list is Sanguine Reveler. It's a 1-cost, 1/1 Warlock common. Battlecry. Destroy a friendly minion and gain +2/+2. Interesting. I say this as I sit here and I go, okay, you can break eggs. You could be a coin into with Possessed Villager to have a 1/1 and a 3/3 on board. You could also be something further down the scope and further down the line that we haven't gotten to see. I do see you as at least interesting and potentially being in Zeus, and then potentially making a rise and come back. Oh.
Yeah, I can see this being in Zoo. It's actually not that bad for Zoo. It's cheap. It allows you to take out some of those tokens that Zoo tends to generate for something much larger, and just continues to put pressure on your opponent. So, yeah, I can see Zoo running this. A lot of people's like, oh, Zoo won't run this. Like, no. Have you seen Zoo? Zoo will run the crap out of this. So, yeah, I think that if Zoo is going to make a reappearance, this is going to be partly why. So, next up, we have Howling Commander, which is a 3-cost 2/2 Paladin minion with the battlecry, draw a Divine Shield minion from your deck. I would think if we're going to have a Divine Shield deck in Standard, Howling Commander is going to have to be one of the key features of it. Just because Standard doesn't have as many options for Divine Shield as Wild does. At least it's not very many good options. So Howling Commander can allow you to get to the minions you want a lot quicker, whether it's your Tyrion, whether it's your Wicker Flame, your Bolvar, any of the other Divine Shield minions that haven't been announced or that are in Standard right now that you want to get to. Howling Commander will allow you to get to it. I think outside of Divine Shield decks, a lot of people are saying, you know, well, you just run it to get your Soul Tyrion. I don't think that you'll really find a use for it that way. I think that's limiting. Maybe people will try running it like that. But I think that if a Divine Shield deck is going to come out in Standard, this will be key. Now in Wild, because I actually have a Divine Shield deck in Wild, and I'm going to be honest, Eddie, I can't find a use for this in my Wild Divine Shield deck. It's a deck that is already full Divine Shield minions already, and a lot of them are pretty strong that I don't want to slot one of them out for a card that searches for them. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting to the point where I'm kind of, continuously refining it and getting the best in there. And I feel that Howling Commander would, at this point, early on, Howling Commander probably would have been a staple. Now, Howling Commander would be hurting me. So, in Wild, I don't think this is a good idea. In Standard, if Divine Shield Dex comes out, I think this is going to be key. Other than that, I think this will dilute your overall Paladin deck, and why would you want that?
You're checking all the boxes for me, man. I mean, that 3 slot is already between Rallying Blade and Stonehill Defender and playing Burn Bristle, and it's just like this thing, and potentially the Steward of Darkshire, if we want to go full on like Dunedain Divine Shield. So it's just like that's the standard side of things, and then you look at the wild side of things, just like, yeah, just check and tick all those little boxes that you just mentioned.
And a lot of people are comparing this to Arcanologist, allowing you to get a secret to your deck, and it's not the same thing.
It's really not.
It's really not. Mage has so many key secrets, and normally they're trying to get to their one. They're basically looking at Arcanologist. You run an Arcanologist to get your Ice Block. In this way, you would run a Howling Commander to get to your Tyrion. Maybe Paladin will use it that way. I didn't think Paladin would use Hydrologist. But, again, as some people have been pointing out, why would you run this to try to get to your Tyrion when you could just run a Stonehill Defender to get another Tyrion? And I agree with that. That makes a lot more sense, and I don't think that's worth putting in a 3-cost 2/2 just to get to your sole copy of Tyrion early in the game. Tyrion's a late game card. You don't necessarily need him right away. You're probably going to end up drawing him, but if you really want your Tyrions, you have other ways to get Tyrions. So I don't think it's going to see much play.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. So next up, we have Venomstrike Trap. 2-cost Hunter Secret. That is, when one of your minions is attacked, summon a 2/3 Poisonous Cobra. Meh? Like, I can understand the value of having, like, an on-call because of your minions being striked Emperor's Cobra. I mean, yeah, sure, you can get it from, like, Professor Putricide, and that's nifty, that's some value, but it's just, like, as far as you actually going out of your way to run it, you've got better secrets you can slot in right now. Oh, am I saying something that's not here?
Absolutely. It's a better Snake Trap. Like a lot of people go, it's just Snake Trap. No, Snake Trap summons, like, I think 3 1/1 snakes. This is a better Snake Trap. Yeah, it's one minion, but it's a poisonous minion that, unless your opponent has accounted to play around this to then kill the Cobra, chances are you'll be able to strike and kill something big the next turn. That's the upside. The problem is, like Eddie said, there are actually much better Hunter traps to be running if you're going to be running Secret Hunter at all. Freeze, Exploding, heck, Snipe, Catrick, Misdirection. I mean, you have a lot of really good Hunter Secrets, and you're going to have to pick and choose which ones are more important. And I'm just going to say, Venomstrike Trap just doesn't make the list. It's a cool secret. I like it. I just don't think it's enough for Secret Hunter. A Secret Hunter would be the one that would be packing secrets. So I don't think even Secret Hunter is going to want to run a copy. They'll just expect that they will get a copy from Professor Putricide. And that'll make it interesting like that. I do think it's a cool card, though. Okay,
right.
So up next, we have Snowflipper Penguin. Snowflipper Penguin is a 0-cost 1/1 beast. That is so adorable. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, this card right now, when I looked at it, the vote on it, it's just like 80% gonna be a meta-defining card. Woo! It's like, oh, thank you, Hearthstone, for being just so fun and trolly with this.
Yeah. I think the best thing that's been said is that when it comes to Build-A-Beast, this will be strong with Build-A-Beast, but by itself, this is not a card you really include in your deck. Just like you don't include Wisps, and just like you don't include Murloc Tiny Fins. I always like the idea of zero-cost minions, but I've never seen them really turn out well. So I don't think personally it's going to be a card played that will be naturally played in decks. It might still come up as as a random beast, and it'll be strong. It'll be a strong addition for Build-A-Beast. But other than that, it's not going to be C play.
Oh yeah, not at all. Next up, we've got ShadowBlade. 3 cost, 3/2 rogue weapon with the battle cry, your hero is immune this turn. Okay, so I have a Rogue's Rallying Blade. 1 turn, and I don't take damage that very turn. Okay? I mean, I get free or at least 2 cost weapon each time. And it's a 1/2. This for 3? I can see the benefits and the upsides of it, but at the same time I'm just going, meh? And that's just me? Bulb, can you convince me otherwise?
I like it. I think the Battle Cry, your hero is immune, could be key to a deck that runs this. Added on top of this, something like Leeching Poison or something like Envenom Weapon, and this could be nuts. Or if you have a big thing that only has like 3 damage, that only has 3 health left, you can face tank this easily without losing health. So I like it. It probably would have been really cool if it was just a static effect of your hero is immune. But the Battle Cry is not bad. I could definitely see some uses for it. The question is, will rogues use it? And rogues don't like weapons. They say, give us a good weapon, but they don't like weapons. Let's be honest. They don't. They don't. This has potential that could be used, but we'll see if it is used. And now it's time to tell a tale of a vengeful card. Now, number one, before we go into this card, we have to talk about a few cards in Wild. Number one. Should I talk about the card first, or should I talk about the cards that have changed because of this card?
Talk about the card first, so that way people understand why the change happened.
Okay, so the card is Defile. It's a 2-cost Warlock spell that says deal 1 damage to all minions. If any die, cast this again. Now, given what they said about they actually had to change the effect of Dreadsteed because of this. So according to I guess how this works is that it casts, the death animations go through, and then if anything died, it casts again. So it's not like because we were talking about Grim Patron. Normally Grim Patron, if like lethal damage is dealt to it, it'll stay on the board until that way you don't have infinite patrons. But this sounds like they would die and then kind of spawn back. So
there is a cap for it.
Number one, it has been confirmed there is a cap for it. So even with Grim Patrons, it can't go off indefinitely. But they said they have made a change to Dreadsteed. Dreadsteed used to be if it died, it came back. The death route has been changed that it comes back at the end of the turn. Now, at the time, that sounded great because they said we made this change so that the effect wouldn't go off infinitely. But they've since confirmed with when we actually it was Eddie inquired about the interaction with Grim Patron. It was actually said that this card never goes off infinitely. It has a cap, which means that Dreadsteed wouldn't have been a problem, except that would just break it and kept on going until it hit the cap. Grim Patron is probably going to do the exact same thing, by the way. But they made the change to Dreadsteed anyway. Now, let's talk about Dreadsteed first. I think it's a good change, regardless of if it was needed for this card or not, because Dreadsteed coming back immediately actually raises some problems if you want to if you want to make any board presence other than Dreadsteed, because there are a number of cards that interact with Dreadsteed that can actually cause you to fill your board with 1/1 Dreadsteeds, and then you couldn't do anything. And that was actually one of the biggest problems I have with Dreadsteed, is I didn't want to run into it in any Defile deck. I still don't want to run it now, because of the real problem of it completely taking over your board and you not being able to do anything about it. Now with the change, you can do something about it, because essentially it's kind of like, think of it like the Kalthazad effect. You know, they come back at the end of the turn, and it takes precedent of the one that died first, is the one that comes back first. But if you can fill in the slots before the, if you can fill in those slots, then this all came down to making sure which minions died first with Kalthazad. That way, you know, you prioritize the minions you wanted to come back first, and then the ones you didn't care about losing, you got rid of before you would play new minions. Because it would always prioritize the ones that died first when it came back, and so you could fill in slots to get rid of unwanted minions. And that's great about Dreadsteed, is now if you play around with Dreadsteed and then you're like, I don't want these Dreadsteeds on my field anymore, you can now fill up your field and the Dreadsteeds won't come back. Where before they just always permanently took up a slot. Now they come back at the end of the turn, so if you're like, I'm done with the Dreadsteeds, you can just try to fill up the slot and keep them from coming back. So I think it's a good change going forward. I think it's healthier going forward, and I'm excited about that. Now, Defile is a really cool, really good spell, I think, for Warlock. I think Warlock has the tools, especially depending on what deck they're playing, to really set this up. And it kind of ends up, like I said, it kind of ends up being a puzzle, so you can set this up to try to wipe your opponent's board. I don't think Zoo necessarily... I don't know if Zoo would necessarily play this, because it's bound to wipe out your board, maybe before your opponent's. But I could see Control Lock playing Defile. I think for a control-oriented Warlock deck, I think Defile is going to be a key card. So I think this is a very good control card. I think this is a very good card overall, and we will see this played.
Oh yeah, Defile just... It's so nice. Because if you decide to go, I'm going to play Possessed Villager, and I'm going to hit Defile, you're guaranteed at least 3 damage on board. Most of your token decks, bye-bye board. Most of your potential late-game decks, depending, bye-bye. As far as the board goes, just goodbye. I don't need to deal with this. This, I would say, as far as Defile goes, has been made because of how much aggro is being played. And it's just like, okay, no, stop with this mess. And heck, if anything, I also saw a combo that was being discussed of Defile and Karakazam, which, that right there is 1 tick, 2 ticks, 3 ticks, 4 ticks. And if there's the 4th minion that has 4 health, 5 ticks. And you're just like, oh. So this Defile thing, it has a small potential to be a board nuke for 2. That's insane when you think about it. But, I mean, like, you're not playing this in Zoo, because Zoo is, I need the board, and I need to be able to just hit you in the face. And if we're trying to compete for board, nah, I'm not trying to wipe my board just to have you wipe your board. You rebuild your board, me try to rebuild my board and hit Defile again to just have to restart it and just go, alright, we're gonna stop this, both of us. One of us has to win this game. Are we good on Defile?
Oh yeah.
Cryostasis. It's a 2-cost Shaman Epic. Give a minion +3/+3 and freeze it. So we're gonna lock down our minion for, or potentially lock down one of your minions for a turn, and give it +3/+3. Given the Voodoo Hex Doctor, making it a 5/10. That's nasty. Potentially hitting my Doomsayer and making it a 3/10 to where you can barely destroy it. And with the card that Bulb's going to be talking about next, this thing is disgusting. And if anything, I'm pretty sure Shaman's not done pouring on the freeze stuff yet. Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot more free stuff to potentially come out. However, I am going to pass the Bulb, though.
This is really cool. I know I was hesitant about this. Yeah, I know I was hesitant about this when they first announced this, but again, we're going to be getting to another card that actually made me change my tune on this. This can be used to buff up something on your field. This can be used to freeze a key minion on your opponent's field, and then you could combo this with Icebreaker to take it out. But Bulb, if it's a big thing, that's a lot of damage. Hey, guess what? Shamans have heals, don't you know? So Shaman's not going to be as worried about taking a lot of damage because they can just get those heals back. In fact, I'm actually putting together a kind of like a quick and dirty deck list in my head for Frost Shaman. And by the way, did I tell you like some of the stuff I'm planning on running in Frost Shaman, Eddie?
I figure you're gonna be running.
Well, besides the Frost stuff,
like the Frost stuff, like you're probably gonna be throwing in Volcano.
Yeah.
For control.
Yeah.
Potentially Tidecaller.
Putting in Jinyu Water Speaker. Putting in.
Yeah.
Actually, before I came to Jinyu Water Speaker, I knew that I wanted Hot Spring Guardians.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the idea of, if I'm going to be using my face with Icebreaker and using Cryostasis and doing all of this stuff with Freeze, I want heals. So I'm not that worried about Cryostasising something and then face taking it. So I like what's really cool about Cryostasis was when you understand where they're trying to go with setting up Frost Shaman. You start to realize that there's a lot of versatility with this card that makes this actually kind of exciting. So, it may be a card that you don't see as much in Shaman, depending. Maybe it might not be the defining card in Frost Shaman, but it is going to be a key card, a fun card to play around with. I'm kind of excited about this, especially with the next card, which is Moorabi, which is the Shaman Legendary. It's a 6-cost 4/4 with the effect whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. Now, guys, we had the previous freeze effects. We have Voodoo Hexer. We have Cryostasis, and we were just talking about Cryostasis. So not only, let's say that I have Icebreaker, I have Moorabi on the field, and there's a minion that my opponent is going to use to destroy me. However, I can Cryostasis the minion, face tank it with Icebreaker. Basically, I Cryostasis the minion, I get a copy of said minion in my hand, and then kill with Icebreaker. Let's put this in perspective. Let's just go Mage. They have an Archmage Antoniditis on the field. I Cryostasis the Archmage Antoniditis. I face tank the Archmage I get a copy of it in my hand. I then face take it with Icebreaker. Mage no longer has an Antoniditis. If Cryostasis is the only thing I've played so far, I can then play something to heal my face. Yeah. And I just used Archmage as an example. We're talking about any big thing. So, yeah. I really like Moorabi. Moorabi is essentially the missing piece of the Frost Shaman puzzle. I mean, it's kind of cool to have the Frost stuff, but once they show Moorabi, it kind of fills in the blanks. Because it essentially gives Frost Shaman a lot of power. It gives... I don't want to call it an endgame. It kind of gives them a lot of power because it allows them to use their freeze effects in really interesting ways to essentially get board back, to basically get even some really nice minions from their opponent's side back. And let's say that you're playing Frost Shaman against a mage with freeze effects. That mage can stall all they want. They're just giving me more minions to play from my hand. They're giving me copies of my field.
If they don't cook it first.
So, yeah, that's going to make it very, very difficult. Pretty much anything. So I really, especially going up against like the new Jaina powers, like being able to spawn water elementals. Okay, you're spawning water elementals. So Hit your frost water elementals into my Voodoo Hexer. You freeze the Hexer, it freezes the water elemental. I got a copy of both in my hand. Woohoo! I like Moorabi. It's really cool. It's really fun. It's actually the card that made me excited to actually play around with actually experimenting with Frost Shaman, and it has the potential to be meta-defining, this expansion.
Oh, buddy. I honestly just... You took most of the stuff out of my head, so I'm just like, alright, thank you for that. However, I'm also looking at this card, and I'm just going, you know what? If I play this more towards the late game, I can just play it, and then play Glacial Shard on it, because it just says, whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. So, damn, I just broke, or at least I didn't
you can't
do
get
this right.
You can't get Moorabi, yeah.
Darn! I figured I would at least try. Trying to talk and trying to break it just a little bit, but I don't think Frost Shaman's done getting enough of the freeze stuff yet. And of course, it is encroaching on Mage's territory of freeze, but
it's doing so in a different way.
Very much different way. It's like, oh, copy stuff. All right, cool beans. Gives you something new to think about and gives Shaman a different control variety of what could do. So, are we good on it?
Yep.
Next card is Doomed Apprentice. 3 cost, 3/2. Your opponent's spells cost
Eternal Servitude,
1
dude.
more. Eternal Servitude? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I love me.
I love you too.
Eternal Servitude. It's a 4-cost priest rare. Discover a friendly minion that died this game. Summon it. This has meta-defining card written all over it. Because the resurrection effect used to be so random, and now I get 3 choices. So, can I have my Lyra back? Yes, thank you. Doop. Oh, did I get this from a random Lyra effect? Sweet. Summon something back. Onyx Bishop. Yay! We're playing Resurrect Priest. And just making it oh so much fun. Oh, so much fun. Bulb.
I know, I think Eddie knows that I'm a big fan of the Resurrect effect in Priest. I ran a copy of Resurrect in my Dragon Priest deck. She's like going, you're an idiot, dude. I actually loved running a copy of Resurrect in Priest decks anyway. And just the fact that this is a much better Resurrect pretty much means that I'm going to be, in Wild, I'm going to be replacing Resurrect with Eternal Servitude, because it's just better. I mean, I love Resurrect, dude, but I'd rather choose which minion comes back rather than get a random one back. No duh. And yeah, definitely this is taking up a spot if I can find it in current Priest decks, because this is so bonkers. I love this. I love Eternal Servitude. Love it so much. I'm definitely going to make sure I have two copies. So, yeah. Definitely going to be meta-defining.
Oh, yeah.
So, next up, we have Doomed Apprentice. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Which is a 3-cost, 3/2 mage minion that has the effect your opponent's spells cost 1 more. This is very good for a control-minded mage. Makes it harder for your opponent to play spells. They have to expend more mana, which is good for you. And if you play this in conjunction with other spells and effects that just make it harder on them, you can make a very good control-oriented mage. I kind of like this one. I'm probably going to slot this into a mage deck, and I think this could be a card that we see a lot, depending on what mages do, whether they try to go tempo or try to go more control. Right now, mages are more focused on combo or tempo burn. So we haven't seen the type of deck that would love to use this come back into fashion yet. But I think depending on we haven't seen any mage spells this expansion. Funny enough.
No.
So depending on what those spells are, this maybe Control Mage comes back, and if so, this is going to be a key part of it.
I'm on the fence about her because we keep again piling on 3 costs, and that 3 slot is so contested for Mage right now. It's insane. So it's just like, okay, do we run her or do we not? I mean, I'm on the fence. I really am, because I can see the benefits in her. At the same time,
that's why I was saying a Control Mage. I don't think any other Mage deck runs it.
And I really don't either.
We haven't seen a classic Control Mage for a while, so maybe it comes back. But if it doesn't, this card's not going to see play. I'm going to try running with her, but you know, my deck's a little bit different.
Yep. So next up, we have Prince Valanar.
Yay! Eddie got it right.
The last of the 3 Prince that would be shown for this set. It's a 4-cost 4/4 battle cry. If your deck has no 4-cost cards, gain lifesteal and taunt. Where am I going to put this? Where in the world would I put this in standard, for that matter? Because it's just a lot of classes right now, like Mage, you're not going to run it with this because I need that slot for Fireballs and Polymorphs. Druid, I need my swipes. Hunter? Maybe? I don't know. Okay, Houndmaster, excuse me. Houndmaster is in that slot for 4. Paladins have way too much stuff. Warlock has Hellfire and Blast Crystal Potions, so that's out. Warrior has a nice new weapon. It's going to run with it, and just the more I keep going, okay, I'm going to go class to class to class to class and try to figure out which one could do it. Like, Rogue? Maybe. And I say maybe because I don't know what other class could potentially throw this in their 4th slot and actually be beneficial. Bulb, can you talk me into this?
This is a cool effect. I mean, it is a cool effect. The problem being is Eddie's kind of right. Not so much about spells and all that stuff. He's looking at the traditional effects, but in general, when you're looking for 4-cost minions to slot in, you start having a lot more options around the 4-cost slot. Now, the 4-cost slot I don't think is as contested as it has been in past metas, so you might be able to get away with this. Maybe Priest can run it. Maybe. But, again, the 4-cost slot tends to be a little contested. And it's just going to depend on how you're building your deck. It used to be that the 4-cost slot was always, heavily contested, but that kind of changed with the introduction of Standard. I don't think there's as many common options in the 4-cost slot as there used to be with minions. Now it kind of has evolved upwards to the 5-cost slot being just very heavily contested. But it also tends to happen around 4, depending on what you're looking for. In certain decks, I think you could easily slot this in as your only 4 slot. It'd be easy to do. But in other decks, you're gonna have to make some choices. I think like Taldaram, this is going to be a niche card. I think it will still see more play than Keleseth. Just because the 4-cost slot again not as for minions is not contested as much, and depending on the deck, it's going to be easy to slot in. So I think we'll see some play, but like all the princes, it's going to be very niche, and you're not going to see it a lot. So next up, we have Dead Man's Hand, which is a 2-cost warrior spell that says shuffle a copy of your hand into your deck. I like this, especially for Control Warrior. this is just going to be a key card. This is such a strong card. A lot of people have been saying stuff like, "Oh, Jade Idol kills control." We're going to be seeing some stuff that essentially where the set looks at them and say, "Shut up, you whiners." This is a strong card, I think, for Control Warrior, especially. I'm not sure if any other version of Warrior is really going to want to run this. I mean, it's a good copy. It's a good card to run if you don't have any other options anyway. But Control Warrior, especially, we're seeing some cards that kind of signals that maybe Control Warrior might come back, and this is kind of exciting. This is kind of interesting, and I think this is a card that we'll see play.
As far as Dead Man's Hand goes, like, people who are just going, Jade Idol, Jade, shut up. Just absolutely shut up. Mike Dionis has also gone on record and said that there's something coming Wednesday that will potentially help / hamper Jade Idols and things like that. So I'm like, on one end, it's like, okay, this could be a thing. On the other end, man, why you gotta... I enjoy running, but I'll live. I will live. I have this new stuff to play with. Dead Man's Hand. This thing. If we're going to do like that super control-sided thing in the meta, this is nuts. This is just absolutely knuckin' futz. Are we good on Dead Man's Hand?
Well, I'm just thinking, you know, they're talking about Jade Idol, and this has the potential if you run 2 Dead Man's Hands. You can wait until you have 2 of them in your hand, then play 1, so you not only shuffle your hand, but that hand also contains a copy of Dead Man's Hand, so you have the potential to go infinite, which you know, the Control Warrior's like, yeah, I can do that.
You've got Battle Rage and things like that to be able to just like draw to get down there quicker, and then just dip it back in.
You're going to want to if you, play it at the best possible moment to have certain key cards like, you know, Brawls or Executes or whatever, so you never run out of those options. But yeah, I love it.
Just keep making a mess and everything, but shifting gears, we move into Spreading Plague. 5-cost Druid spell. Summon a 1/5 Scarab with taunt. If your opponent has more minions, cast this again. This... I have a bit of a hard time, at least, wrapping my head. Mainly because it's just like, I can't look far enough down the scope to be able to go, okay, will aggro be a problem? Shake the magical 8-ball. Normally it'll pop up, yes, because aggro's always a problem. However, I'll just be like, alright, fine. Will token decks still be a problem? Shake, 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 shake. And cannot see future, please, you know, wait a bit. So with Spreading Plague, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I can generate a bunch of 1/5s. And if I want to, I can make it to where I'm playing Token Taunt Druid. And then just go, I'm going to buff these with, like, Mark of the Lotus and Power of the Wild and just have the biggest taunt wall possible ever. Good luck getting through it with all of your minions on. But at the same time, I just don't see that Druid doing something like this. And this is where I kick it to Bulb, because Bulb's my go-to, like, I would say, niche guy for this sort of thing. And I just go, convince me.
It's a good control tool, especially against like aggro decks and like, especially if you're running a taunt-focused Druid deck. It ensures that you essentially match the amount of minions they have on board, so it fills in the gaps with 1/5 Scarabs with taunt. And 1/5s are pretty good at kind of stopping things from getting through for the most part. It's going to control that board, so it will give the Druid some breathing room. I guess it just depends on why they're playing this. Mid-range might play this, but I think this will go into like more controlling builds or more late-game builds that need that breather. And it depends on how many of those we see. It's very hard for Druid because they don't have as many control options as other classes. So essentially, their options are essentially are essentially stalling, single focus, single spell focus, and trying to get big things out quicker. In that case, Spreading Plague can absolutely help there. I just don't know what Druid's going to want. And for several different Druid decks that are out currently, I'm not sure this really has a home.
Oh no.
It could be it's a really neat card. It could be a card that finds a home in a slower deck, and maybe a more controlling deck if Druid gets some of those options. But yeah, it just depends. As far as its synergy with Hadronox, Druid has bigger taunt minions.
Yeah.
They have better taunt minions that you'd probably want to get from Hadronox anyway, and you're Spreading Plague essentially. I mean, granted, you're probably playing Spreading Plague in the same deck as Hadronox, but you also need to keep in mind that you are polluting that pool with 1/5 scarabs with 1/5 taunts. When you might want, I don't know, you might want your 8/8 or any of the other huge taunts. Heck, even something like the I forget what his name is. Begins with C.
Nope.
The menagerie is for guests only.
Curator.
Yeah. So with the Curator, so I want to like this card. I kind of like the effect of it. I'm just trying to figure out which kind of decks will run it. It could be a great stall option for, again, those big, meaty Druid decks. But then again, they're going to be really focused on ramp. And do they need it? I mean, I don't know. Do Jades run this? I don't think they do.
No.
Because by this point in the game, they're having their Jade. They're already
Train.
Yeah, they have the Jade train rolling. So I don't know. Token Druid might run this.
Yeah, that's why I was going with like maybe a new style of Token Taunt Druid, maybe like a slower version, and just like
yeah, maybe a more mid-range version of Token Druid. I mean, I like the card. I don't want to say it's bad, but I'm also struggling to figure out where it's going to be used.
That's why I was saying I was coming to you. I'm like, Bob, help! You're my only hope from this one.
I can't think of any build I have of Druid, or I'm thinking of Druid currently, but I do like the card. If only because I think it's a neat effect. And that's about it. So, thank you guys for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.